There are 6 known camera companies in existence: Canon, Sony, Fuji, Nikon, Panasonic, OM System. There's others, of course: DJI, GoPro, pretending they're sideline, they're your side bitch. They're not like in the game here. Today we talk about why there's a hierarchy, and could you get the most beautiful movie out of a little OM sushi system? Of course you could.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So we're on the Canon C70, 50mm 21.2, speed boosted. OM Sushi shirts are available down below. So I made a chart, and I was thinking, really, there's a top 3, and then there's others. It doesn't mean this is like best to worst. It's nothing like that. I could run this whole show on OM system. We all know that. An OM3 in here with a Leica 25mm 1.4, little 12mm 22 for vlogging, 300mm prime for wildlife. 3 lenses, I destroy everything you know and love. But I just wanted to run through the hierarchy as I see it. I like talking about this kind of thing, theories, just like the feeling behind each camera instead of just like spec sheet madness. So Canon is known to lead our industry. They have been there since day one. The first camera I ever bought, I came into this game, it was like 2009. I wanted a digital camera for my birthday. It was my first camera. I was like, this would be fun to post pictures on Facebook or something. So I was searching like, who's the best camera? And it was Canon and Nikon. Those were the 2. So I was like, okay, I'll go with Canon. That was my first love. Canon SD 1100 IS. Still can't be beat to this day. As we can see, versus C70, it's garbage. We've gotten nowhere. Now here's why I think Canon leads the industry. Of course, there's other reasons, like, oh, they're DSLRs, they're pro sports shooters. Like, there's mainstream reasons, and then there's the real reasons. And Canon leads the industry because they just look better than you. You film yourself on a camera, you're like, wow, I'm blonde and happy and young. On a Canon camera, you just look better and happier. The colors are cheerful and good. You don't have to do anything to it. Usually, like I'm in C-Log 2, so I slap one LED on there. I'm not tweaking like, remove the greens from the shadows and up the magenta in your eyeballs. You don't have to do anything to a Canon footage. And if you've seen a beautiful person online, filmed on a Canon, guaranteed. It's funny that Canon leads the industry with not class-leading specs in any area. Like, they don't wow you with anything. In fact, it takes them a really long time to catch up. It seems like Sony releases some specs, and then maybe 4 years later, Canon can also do that, but better. And they just look better, and once they catch up to you, they eat your dead body. They overcome you. So they're a bit slow. Wouldn't say they innovate a ton, but once they get there, they're better than you. So don't let them catch up to you. It's like that movie, It Follows. Like, they're slow, you gotta run, and like you can drive away and it's gonna take a while for her to walk to you. But like once she's there, you're done for, man. Now, as you can see, Sony is overlapping Canon. They're not like next, they're right there, man. Depending on the charts you look at, you might even skew the results to where Sony is leading our industry. I don't know where these numbers come from. They're always sketchy. You can't trust anyone. But like Sony mirrorless sales might be higher than Canon. Sony has made a bunch of deals with like actual media teams to where a lot of people filming TV shows and sporting events are using Sony now because they're just so damn capable. Here's why Sony leads the industry. Almost second place to Canon, of course. Speed. That's Sony equals speed. That's all you need to know. Whether it's autofocus, that's the only thing that needs to be fast. Autofocus leads the industry. There's no one that comes close. Canon comes close, but they're not there yet. They're almost as good with the R5 II. Yeah, pretty darn good. It's like almost there. But Sony's stickiness, there's something about the algorithms, their technology, they're reptilian underlords who know too much for their own good. They have no soul. If you film yourself on a Sony, I don't care who you are, you're fighting the footage. You're fighting it, literally a battle every day of your life. And some can do it and some love that. If you love color grading, Sony might be your favorite because it gives you the most challenge to get a normal face, because it's just green skin tones or something's off, your shadow magenta blocks and hell, nightmare footage. And it's weird because they lead the industry in every area except the damn look. And still, because their technology is so good, they're up there number 2, if not number 1. So like they're right up there, but they look like hell. So not only are Sony super fast and speedy and specs are class leading, they're also tiny and light. It's just most people gravitate towards it. You have a favorite system and you hate the thought of switching to Sony, but you probably did because you needed it to just work. You needed your client to be in focus while she tried to sell you 1970s cereal. You get the shot on Sony. Then it's a bunch of work to bring it into reality, to like, okay, it's not that bad. Put on these green glasses that block green light and your face will be fine. Now I put Nikon in 3rd place. It's a distant 3rd, as you noticed. They're far off. They're not like, oh, right there overlapping. They're not touching Sony. They're not allowed. It's Nikon. They're not as polished. Don't know what happened, but it was Canon and Nikon all the way since the 1924th century. And they were coming together, and then somewhere Canon started running. And Nikon was like, what's that? You can run? And they never did learn how to run. Now, honestly, I would have had Nikon much lower on this list if it were not for the recent Z6 III offerings that finally gave us a flippy screen. You actually leapfrogged in some areas where you're doing RAW. Your codecs, do I need RAW? Can't even see the difference. I'm shooting in RAW right now. Really, honestly, side by side, I never notice. I don't even know why I shoot it. I think it's 12-bit, bro, I'm a movie. I'm not a movie. I wasn't a movie. Should I correct myself? So Nikon, you're doing RAW. You're doing a lot of cool stuff and your codecs are very easy to edit. It's like a usable RAW, whereas Canon, you have RAW too, but I can't edit the damn thing. It's a nightmare. So like Nikon colors, pretty good. Is this a movie still? I'll leave. It's just hard to fight for our love when there's 2 known companies, Canon and Sony, doing everything you need. It's hard for the other guys to come in and try to steal fans from you. It's like, we're also doing something. Nikon doesn't have the marketing behind them. They don't have the sexy appeal for some reason, but they're coming on, and they might even leapfrog Sony one day with the red technology. You never know. That Nikon FX3 killer, we'll see. But when you break a camera down to its basic features, Nikon autofocus is not as good as Canon and Sony. They're just not. It's not as polished a system. The IBIS is quite jerky and unreliable, whereas Sony has fixes with catalyst browse and their digital stave. It's pretty good. Canon's way better than both. And it's like everything you need a camera to do, Nikon can do for you in 3rd place. They're not better, but they're kind of really good still. Like, even as you slide down the scale to the bottom, it's still like more than 80% of what we need. It's not like Canon's the best, never shoot OM system. So that was the top 3. Now we've moved into another world where Sony brings us their version of crayon technology. It's different. Some might prefer it. Not even mad at you. So those are the top 3. Full frame, we're brainwashed. We think we need full frame. That's the pinnacle, even though there's bigger sensors and better movies shot with smaller sensors. We don't know what we're doing, but those Canon, Sony, Nikon, they're full frame leaders in our world. Now, when we slide down the mountain towards Fujitown, it's a drop off in performance and polish. A lot of things go wrong for you. IBIS, not very good. Autofocus class trailing. But the look you get rivals even Canon, if not surpasses them. Every time I bitch about Fuji autofocus or something, or the reason I sold it, I go grab footage from it and then I put it up here. I'm like, yeah, I just couldn't deal with it. Oh my God, that looks amazing. Oh, why did I sell that thing? God, I love it. There's a world where I want very badly to sell this Canon C70 for a Fuji XS20, and then I just have the R5 II and the Fuji sell you as well, little Sony reptilian freak. But Fuji, they come from a different place than the other companies. It's more traditional Japanese. They're in it for the look, the filmic touch, and nobody can match their colors or beauty. Something about the X-Trans sensor, dynamic range out the yin-yang, it's just that look, wow. That's why everyone puts up with the worst technology ever seen with everything that you do. Just the autofocus is wow. Now, even though Fuji went up to medium format, thinking they would surpass all three full-frame companies, no one's really latched on to that system. I think it's because they don't focus on video, it's only photos. Even though they add some things in their medium format, it's too slow. It's not like a user-friendly thing. It's very heavy and big and clunky. If you just marketed to us a little normal megapixel, 12 megapixel or something, doing really good 4K with dynamic range out the yin-yang and a flippy screen, we'd be laughing at the full-frame companies, but they're mostly photo-centric. Every camera they release is either 90% photo, 10% video, or like their video-centric versions are like 70% photo, 30% video. But most people into Fuji are into X-mount Fuji, APS-C. They hate that Fuji stole workers from their factory to work on medium format that will never benefit them with the X-mount. So most people love the APS-C, tiny, light, cute, some 3D pop on those lenses, the best look in the business, but the polish is where they need to work on if they want to be up in the mountaintops with the Canon and Sons. Now, when it comes to Panasonic, they focused on video. For whatever reason, they're similar to Nikon in the sense that they are not marketed well. They're not sexy. They have no sex appeal. If you walked into a room naked, you look at Panasonic, you're like, wrong room, buddy. And like you wouldn't even let him have his way with you. Panasonic's in a strange place where they have like all the tools you would ever need. In some areas, they are better than all the companies so far that we've talked about. Better stabilization than anyone. Autofocus might be up there. It's been a long time since I've tested one, but I imagine they gotta be above Nikon. They're right below Sony somewhere with the smoothness, because they went through the fires with contrast detect only and like all these algorithms to perfect that. And then once they got phase detect, it was like, well, now we have good technology. Imagine what we could do. Not much, but better than Nikon, I imagine. They just don't have anything that really stands out at you like, oh my God, I'm going to Panasonic. No one else is doing this. Even though they have many things that no one else is doing, they're not enough of a reason to do it. So it's like, I don't know, they're just a strangely marketed company that performs really well. The L mount, I'm not sold on it, but you have access to proper Leica glass if you should ever choose that way. They're also just very slow to release new cameras, and the industry kind of passed them by. They took way too long to get out of contrast detect autofocus, and that was the only thing holding them back. And now that they're here with phase detect, they haven't really done enough with it. They haven't like, oh, here's our flagship camera. They just have like a budget S5 II, now the S1R II, okay. Maybe when the S1H2 comes and it blows us all away, then maybe Panasonic etches a little staircase and passes Fuji, maybe even level with Nikon. It's possible. And last but not least, it's last and least, but OM system, they focus on fun, rain, not getting into your camera, they're weatherproofing, rugged, fun lifestyle. You're out adventuring, and you're bringing your tiny camera with you. They're cool. They're totally in business still. Totally, just check. There's people in that office right now. At least 20 people. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't expect a whole heck of a ton coming from OM System in the future. They were bought out, and that company is known for just stretching out the death of a company. They're not going to innovate and okay, let's hire a research and development team and let's add into this. Like, it's a smart investment to just buy somebody's crumbling business and then like stretch it out, make money, and then, okay, we did make money in the end. We're not making new stuff, but whatever. Like, there's a carpet store near my house, and it's always saying going out of business, closing sale, and the guy sold it off to this new guy, and I think the new guy is just selling off what he has, and then he's gonna quit the business. That's what it is. He's not like making new carpets. From what I remember of Olympus, the company they used to be, you had near Canon colors, like surprisingly, shockingly amazing color science, and then almost Panasonic level stabe, if not surpassing it. Their digital stabe at the time was better than Panasonic. It got rid of the warpy stuff, bit of a crop on it, but decent stuff. Tiny lenses. You did slow-mo, but it was very over-sharpened and cropped in a ton. Slow motion just slows things down to where you can appreciate the beauty for what it really is. And so when I film stuff in slow motion, preferably, I would like that to not be crippled. And OM system is the most crippled of any of them. If you consider the Canon R5 II, its HD 240 is not different than the 24p. It's like, it looks very similar, autofocus is just the same, everything works. Whereas OM system, once you switch into that HD 240, it's like huge crop, manual focus only, locked exposure, over sharpened image that you can't touch. It's just, all of a sudden it switches into this mode that's like, why does it look like that? So it's like they have a lot of shortcomings when it comes to video, but even at that bottom basement tier of the OM system factory, you could totally get by. Beautiful footage. It's not like, oh my God, it's so, like it is basically, if you really focus on the specs and the usability and the lenses, yeah, there's a reason there's a hierarchy, but each one is good. Even Sony disgusting skin tones are good enough if you put a Canon LUT on it. It's fine. So let me know if you agree on the hierarchy order, because a lot of people favor different things. And so for you, maybe Panasonic is the leader, and it's like Sony's the worst. Oh my God, they're bottom. And so it's like Panasonic, then OM system, then Fuji, then it's Nikon, Canon. So let me know your thoughts on all that. You're wrong, obviously, if it's not an exact replica of mine, but come on. That's why I'm doing this and you're watching it and typing madness. Well, he's wrong. Nobody shoots slow motion. I'll shoot your mom in slow motion. After you donate Bitcoin. Subscribe for my others.